And we're going. Oh, well, we are live. I should have said it.
It
I was
didn't
gonna
pop up.
I did.
Sorry.
It's okay, but we are live, guys. Usually we have our little banner, but StreamYard is a little crazy sometimes. But we are live. As you can see, we are missing Mike. There is a hurricane hitting Florida, so to be safe, he's offline today to
Yeah,
get things gathered over there.
as you all know, he does these shows from his garage, so probably not the
Yeah.
best place to be during a big storm. So just practicing that safety, like Kat said.
Yeah. So but we do have a cool show for you guys. I wasn't even is Mike okay? Mike is okay. He messaged us a little while ago, so he's okay. I wasn't on last week and I was
Yeah,
like, was that last week? I don't
yeah,
remember. But yeah, I wasn't on, so now it's the duo again.
yeah. We'll get there. We had one good
Well,
show with all three of us.
we did. We had the one show, but we are gonna talk about some comics. So
Yep.
we actually don't have any news this week. Believe it or not, I really tried hunting. I looked on a couple of websites, but there just wasn't anything that came out this week.
Yeah, I looked too, just because I saw there was not that much on the dock. So I was like looking. I was like, man, there's just really nothing, nothing to talk about really. So
But there is a lot of comics to talk
yeah.
about, which I read physically, but they were I went to London actually
Hmm.
last week, and I went to the comic book store over there, but still in my backpack. So, and I was running late, so I was like, I'm not. I usually like have the books with me, but I have it on like a on notes where what books I ranked because I didn't do the
Yeah.
show this week either, so I had a little bit of a break. We do have some comments here. Parker Luck says, "Hello, guys. I'm hoping that you three can all make it for the show tonight, but if not, I'm hoping we can still have fun. Four color thing known as comic page." Yeah, sadly again, Mike, he really did try. He's like, all right, guys, like I really tried as last minute as possible, but
Yeah.
to try beyond, but safety first. But let's jump into the comics again. No news this week, just because that's the type of week it was. So, yeah, let's just jump in.
All right. Let's see. What were we talking about first? We're talking about a book that you do not read. So
It's a good
I will
book to
be
start
brief on
with.
this one. Yeah, this is Teenage Mutant
I read
Ninja
the
Turtles.
first issue though.
Yeah, Stranger Things issue number 2. So you didn't like the first issue enough to stick with it? Wasn't enough Stranger
Yeah,
Things for you? Yeah, I gotcha.
not enough stranger. The interesting thing about what I liked and disliked about the first issue was that they were in New York. Because I was like, oh, that's
Yeah.
different. Like they're in a different setting. I think I also disliked that. So like, oh, I don't know if there's enough Stranger Things in this.
Yeah, it's I think you have to be fans of both, like really to get into this one because it is very, especially issue 2 is very heavy on the turtles side of things.
Hmm.
I don't think issue 2 was as strong as issue 1 for me, so you really wouldn't like it. But I mean, it's fine, it's fun as a fan of both. We got to see the actual Demogorgons, not just the robotic ones this issue, and got to see a little bit more of how Baxter Stockman is connected to 11 and stuff like that. So that was fun, but it wasn't enough. I think I don't know. There's been better TMNT crossovers in the past, but I'm hoping that they'll punch up the Stranger Things side of it in the second half of it. But it was okay. It's fun. It's fine. But don't
It's
go out of your
middle of
way.
the road. It's
Yeah.
not. It's not power. It's not the Power Rangers crossover.
Right. Yeah. It's not on that level, unfortunately. But
We do have a question
yeah.
from infamous Mike Manhattan. Have you seen the trailer for David Fincher's new comic book movie, The Killer? I've seen like teasers for it, but I haven't watched. I didn't even know the trailer was out. But
I didn't either. Yeah. I've
yeah,
not
I
heard
know
of
it's
it.
like a Netflix movie.
Okay.
But that's all I got for you.
Yeah. I'll check it out though. All right. So next, a book that we were all anticipating for this week, Dark
Yeah,
Knights of Steel, issue number 12, the finale, maybe?
yeah, I'm sure
Big
we'll get
question
more of
mark on
that
that?
series.
Yeah. What'd you think of it?
I liked it, but I didn't love it. I wanted this to be like my number one pick. It wasn't even in my top five this week.
Hmm.
It was very much like just putting the pieces together. I feel like previous issues, it was more of the finale, right? Because it was the battle. This is more of like, all right, well, the battle happened. This is where this character is going to be. This is where this character is going to be. And there was no like oh my god moment, and there wasn't even a character moment that was like, whoa, that was like really emotional or whatever. So it was almost a forgettable ending. And I hope it's not the end of this franchise, which again I don't think it will be. But
Yeah.
I thought it was just okay.
It didn't feel like the end to me. It felt like to be
Right.
continued, and that's kind of how they left it. I mean, it was fun. It's still, I mean, it's Dark Knights is still, it's never bad, but I agree with you. It was kind of a lackluster ending. It wasn't like you said. There was no big wow moments and no big battles or anything like that. You know, so I think the uh, the amount of time it took to get the second half out just kind of killed all the momentum it had. So that stole a little bit of it for me. But you're right; like all the big reveals happened earlier issues, so took a little of the teeth out of it.
No, 100% agree. So yeah, I wish I could say more about that series because I do overall like it a lot.
Yeah, a
Um,
fantastic series. I think as a like if you sat down and read the whole thing together, it'd be a lot better. But a lot of events are like that. A lot of maxi series are like that. So
Interestingly enough, because I don't think we talked about this on on this channel. Maybe we did, because again, we took a little bit of a hiatus. But The Adventures of John Kent, which ended badly, the ending the same exact way. I do agree that I don't think the John Kent series ended um as as I would have wanted to, but I still it doesn't take away from me liking the
yeah,
series itself because I still liked it. I just don't think it was the best ending, and I think that goes to the same for Dark Knights of Steel. I'm trying to think of an ending that Tom Taylor is stuck the landing on. I can't think of any because I also didn't like his ending for Seven Secrets.
yeah, that's true. I think we did touch on it. I don't know if it was last week or the week that you were here, but we did touch on it briefly and just the insanity that he beat the Justice League so quickly.
Yeah, that
Um,
was
yeah,
interesting.
but I still like the series as well. I think it ended abruptly and it probably needed a couple more issues um, to get to that point. So anyway. All right. So next up is Immortal Thor #1, which interesting. I really wish Mike was on because he left a comment on. I did a review on this yesterday, and he left a comment saying it's going to be an interesting conversation Tuesday because I like the book, so I'm
I did
assuming he
too,
did not.
actually. Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't like
Anybody
love it, but I was just like, oh, I'm interested enough to see where this goes.
Yeah, anybody that watched Mike's Worthy One series, I think is where he talked about it.
Mhm.
Let us know what he thought about it. 'Cause I'm curious, like if he really hated it or something. But
Well,
I
I think
liked
the
it.
art was good enough to say this could have been a good series, but go on.
No, yeah, I liked the art. I thought the art was nice. I liked that Thor was back to being happy-go-lucky, just to have the wind sucked out of his sails again with this new threat, which I thought was also an interesting twist, having this dark version of the Asgardians. It's something we haven't seen necessarily before, so I'm intrigued by it, and I thought the characterization was good. I like Loki being, have up to his subtle trickeries again for unknown reasons and all that. So it had all the stuff that I actually like about the character and his supporting cast.
Yeah, I think there's on that note, there's times where I'm like, oh, we're kind of treading on water, but then by the end of the issue, you kind of figure out why they're doing it. And I felt like that cliffhanger was a new direction for the character and maybe almost a more Hulk way, or at least new versions of these characters. So I'm curious to see where it's gonna go. It gave me definitely enough to want to read more, but I do think it was mostly the ending that impressed me for the series.
Yeah.
Um, we do have a question from the Bronze Page Comics. Hey Brant and Kat in the chat. Did any comics impress you from Night Terror event? Thor is cool. The only one I thought from issue 1 to 2 that I really liked was Flash because I liked Superman issue 1, and the Flash was really the only one that I thought was worth reading.
Yeah, the Flash I liked. I liked the first issue of Superman as well, but the ones that I tried this second issue of, I just really didn't like. I didn't think they stuck the landing. So overall, I was a little disappointed by the whole event.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was very reminiscent to their, Futures End stuff where it's like, oh, yeah, you're doing this just to fill gaps at this point.
Right. All right. So moving into our number fives, then what was your number five, Kat?
Mine was Schlub, issue one.
Oh,
Yeah, no, I thought this was a fun one. It's about this dentist who's got nothing going right, and he's not really good at anything. His relationships, his job, and this superhero comes crashing in, and they switch bodies, and that's kind of the full comic. And you obviously want to see like what is this schlub gonna do as a superhero, and it seems like nothing good. It looks like he might even be a villain, and not use these powers for good. And I had a fun time with it. I thought it was a good comedic book. I liked the art. I enjoyed it.
yeah, I enjoyed it too. It didn't make my top five, but I did like it. I thought it was fun, kind of goofy, and just what would happen if some dude that nothing goes right for becomes the strongest person in the world, and of course it's going to be revenge on everybody that's done him wrong. So, yeah, fun. I liked it.
It
My
also looks like, yeah, we got
Yeah.
the answer for the immortal Thor, which was a D. That was
Oh,
pretty that was
wow.
pretty low.
Yeah.
He had high expectations and they weren't met. Because like if I was really expecting something from Mortal Thor, I would be like, whoa, like yeah, for me it was like a 3.5 star book. It was fine. It wasn't perfect for me, but also kind of went in with no expectations. I know don't usually read Thor to that extent unless it's a Jason Aaron type run.
Yeah, maybe for me it's because I had low expectations because I
Hmm.
was concerned because I don't like Immortal Hulk and I didn't love the last Thor the way it ended and everything. I didn't even finish it.
Wow.
So I was
I
like
don't think I
nervous.
did actually either. I think I dropped it.
Yeah, so I was nervous, like, is this gonna be good? And and I went in with that, kind of mindset. And so for me it was uplifting. It was like, okay, I actually like this. So cool. So yeah, we'll have to ask Mike his thoughts next week and get him to share them with us. All right, so my number five was actually Jean Grey. Uh,
Oh wow, that's gonna be interesting because you thought you weren't gonna disagree with anyone on this. I didn't like Jean Grey, so
yeah, so I mean, I thought it was fun. I thought it was fine, and I mean, obviously, it's not what I don't know what it is actually. So I think that's part of like my curiosity about it is what is this going to result in? Because obviously she's dying. She's thinking back to when they all went back in time to change the timeline and all this stuff, and it's like an alternate version of history, and now I'm not sure like which history actually survived. What's is something actually changing here? So it's left me with a lot of questions, which when a when an issue one does that, it's good for me because it's like, okay, that gives me something to look forward to, some answers that supposedly are going to come. Now issue two could completely fall apart and shatter all of that, and it's not perfect, right? So but I liked most of my books this week, so it was kind of hard for me to pick a top five, so I just kind of I rolled with it. So I was like,
yeah,
oh, I like
Jean, I think because I'm not reading X-Men, I was just like, oh, none of this has to do with anything for me.
it. Mm,
But I like the trajectory of where Marvel's taking some of the X-Men. I rather have X-Men solo series than 10,000 more team books. So
yeah.
I like that they're doing that, and obviously they have Simonson on it. So I think if you're a Gene fan, you'll enjoy it.
I mean, it also harkened back to that story that I actually did like with the young X-Men when they came into the present. I
True.
mean, it kind of fell apart at the end, but leading up to that point, I thought it was really good. So I don't know. I'm just curious where it goes from here. So all right, let's see. The next book we're going to talk about is another book that you don't read, which is Big Game number two. This is the big Mark Miller crossover with all his characters. And this issue, some big things happen because he started killing off all the heroes, all the characters that we've been reading in other books and stuff like that. And they reference like those vampire kids from Nightclub or Next. And Hit Girl was in this. She didn't. She survived. But other characters from other series are out. They're hunting Huck now. I think is one of the
Okay,
targets on
I
the
like talk.
list. Yeah, so it's interesting how he's kind of killing his darlings, as it were. And I thought that was an interesting twist with it. Like it's harkening back to Wanted and how things were in that in that side of the universe, how none of the heroes existed anymore, and they're trying to get that back. So yeah, I thought it was a fun issue. I'm really enjoying the series so far, and I cannot wait to see like what's left at the end of all this.
We do have a question from John Styles. Are you going to read Devil's Cut this week? I am. I'm curious about it. So if you guys don't know, Devil's Cut is from Distillery.
Distiller.
It's a new company. A lot of big names are there, and the Devil's Cut is just kind of showing what to expect from their company. So yeah, I'm gonna check it out for sure.
Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna try to try it. I'll put it like that.
We also have a question from Tevia. How does Big Game connect to the larger Mark Millar or Mark Miller universe?
Yeah, so I mean, everybody's involved. It's like again, if you read Wanted or if you didn't, it was basically all the villains rule the world. The superheroes are gone. So somehow they were all convinced that before all these other books started popping up and all these other heroes came into play, that heroes didn't exist anymore. And so now that they're cropping back up again, this villain organization has contracted nemesis to take all the heroes out again. So they're killing off all the good guys and trying to make it back to where the villains rule the world again. And so that's where all those other characters come into play. They were killing some of the ambassadors in this one. Different characters. I don't remember everybody that died, but they were after like Hit Girl and Huck and the nightclub and all of these. So they're all going to play a part in this. All right. So that was
We're
Big
going to
Game.
the topic of our
Yeah.
show.
So Amazing Spider-Man number 32. And our topic, of course, was is the Amazing Spider-Man better without Mary Jane? So let's talk about this first. What did you think of the issue?
I actually really liked it.
Me too.
Shockingly enough. So what's so funny is I was actually talking to some of my friends who sometimes I'll just say like what's going on in Spider-Man because I think it's fun. And I was like, well, you know what's going on in Spider-Man now? And I was talking about the ending pretty much. I'm like, oh yeah, Gold Goblin is gonna be taken away from of his sin again, or he's gonna be a villain again. And I was like, oh yeah, he's Gold Goblin now. And they're like, wait, what? There's a Gold Goblin and what? There's an original sin. I was like, yeah. Let's.
Yeah.
And then Spider-Man becomes a villain, and they didn't even give a shit about the Spider-Man villain part. They're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But like, what's this Gold Goblin thing about? It's so interesting, to, like hear from people who don't love Spider-Man, don't really read comics at all. So I was like, oh, that's an interesting perspective because my business partner Phil, I was telling him and I was like, "Oh, it was, like, really surprising," and I like Spider-Man this week. He's like, "Oh, yeah, that is surprising. You've been not loving it." And I was like, "I think," and he's so, like, "Tell me what happened." And I told him what happened, like I said, and he's like, "Oh, that's what you liked?" I was like, "Yeah, I think if I was reading another series."
Okay, did I freeze or did Cat freeze? Somebody tell me. I can't tell. I think it's Cat. I think Cat froze in mid thought. Um, Hopefully I'm here and okay. Somebody tell me if I'm here or not. But anyway, if it's Cat that's frozen, I guess I will continue on until she can get back on. Yeah, Cat froze. Okay. So my thoughts on Amazing Spider-Man. I actually like this issue too. I see Tevia did not. But I thought it was fun. I love the opening up with Craven and Queen Goblin. I think they're a good fit for each other, a good pairing of evil people to kind of attack Spider-Man, and I thought it was fun. Their whole plan to rid the world of Norman Osborn and this whole Gold Goblin thing aside, to just kind of give him his sins back and then take him down. I thought it's an interesting plot, and of course Spider-Man's going to be the one to take it. Of course something bad's going to happen to Spidey because something bad always happens to Spidey. But it's something that we haven't necessarily seen before outside of like the black suit, or him being turned into an evil spider and that kind of thing. So I thought it was a lot of fun, and I think Cat's trying to get back. There you are. Okay. Yeah.
Um, what I was saying, I don't know what part it's up to, but can you hear me
I
or
don't
no?
remember either. Yeah, I can hear you. You're still frozen, but I can hear you. And now you're frozen completely. There you are. I saw you move,
Am I back or
and
no?
you're kind of half back. Your picture's coming in and out. So is your audio. It's gonna be one of those weeks, folks. Oh, I saw your eyes blink and then you disappeared. Oh, so Amazing Spider-Man. Good issue. Go check it out. Um, but the question while we're waiting for Kat to try to get back, um, wait,
I think
are you
I'm
back?
back. Yeah, I
You're
don't know
back times
what's
two.
going on.
Yeah.
I am back times 2, but I think I'm okay now. Yeah, take other cat
Yeah.
off. Did you
Okay.
where was I was talking about here, Gold
I
Goblin. I was talking about that. Anyways, I was talking
yeah.
to Phil. Oh, nope. Am I paused?
Oh, she's never gonna get these thoughts out about Spider-Man. No, you're gone. If you can hear me at all, you're gone. Um, anyway, the topic about is Amazing Spider-Man better without Mary Jane, and it not so much in the relationship, but the actual book is and we can talk about the relationship too, but uh, is the actual book better without Mary Jane in it? At least right now, with what's going on with Mary Jane and how her whole situation is affecting Peter, I would argue that it actually is better and moves forward faster and cleaner without her in it. Cat's trying to come back again. Are you back?
Let's see if this works. If not,
All
you
right.
might have to send me on the private chat and or send it through Facebook and I'll do it through my phone.
Okay.
So I'm sure
So
you're talking about Spider-Man. Where are
yeah,
you up to the audience?
I was just starting with the topic, so you can finish your thoughts on the actual issue, and then we can go
Well,
to it.
my thought was I thought what was interesting was that in another Spider-Man series, I don't know if I would have said this is the best Spider-Man has been because I
Yeah.
think because when after I told that story to Phil, which again, just going back, I was just saying like, oh, what happened to a non-Spider-Man fan? I was explaining what happened, and I think what's interesting is just that the reason why I like this issue is that something happened. So I was just like, "Oh," he's like, "Why did you like this?" Because I was like, "Something happened. At least it was something different." And that kind of takes you to the topic of why I think what was so good is that they're not focusing on Mary Jane. They're not focusing on, oh, why they're not together. Like at this point, I don't really care why they're not together. I rather them have separate stories. And I think this current direction for both characters makes sense to me. Really excited to see Mary Jane as Jackpot. I'm not excited for Spider-Man to be a villain, but I'm like, at least it's something we haven't seen.
Yeah.
And at least they're making something interesting with Norman. So I just think this is probably the best issue of Spider-Man we've gotten in years, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's basically what I was starting to say. I kind of agree that the book itself and Spider-Man currently is probably better not focused on all the drama and all that stuff with Mary Jane, and because he just became like brooding and sad, and even when he was with Felicia, it was just kind of a distraction, and it didn't really go anywhere, and we knew it wasn't going to go anywhere. So I think this is an opportunity for both of them to kind of explore their lives without each other and do something different. And hopefully that's the trajectory that we're on with both of them. It seems to be, but we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, I mean, like again, are we saying this is the best Spider-Man comic ever made?
No,
No, but I just think it's
absolutely not.
like it's
I'll take my wins where I can get them with Spider-Man right now. That's what I'm saying, right? Sorry, you froze for a second, Cat.
I, yeah, but now I can hear you. I don't know
Yeah.
what's going on with my internet because I guess
Uh,
the storm is now hitting Florida instead. And
yeah,
New York, I guess
yeah,
in my internet.
yeah. It's just going right up the coast. um, but
Right?
yeah,
That's what it feels like. But Spider-Man, go on.
I don't even know what I was going to say now. Uh, go ahead. I was trying to give you an
So
opportunity to say something. Yeah,
no, it was a good issue, right? It wasn't the best.
that's what we were
You can
saying.
hear
Yeah,
me because I can see you going. Oh,
yeah, I can hear you.
yeah. So, but go on. But go on. What any other thoughts about it, or else we'll. One, I think an interesting topic is made in the beginning with like him breaking up with Black Cat and then they're like, oh, is this a date? Is it not a date? I'm like, do we need this? Stop. Just don't. Just stop.
Yeah, yeah. We didn't need that, especially this quickly. give him some time. He just got out of 2 relationships, essentially. Yeah, he needs some time.
Relationships that people like too. So it's just like, no, it's just like you don't even have to reference it. But they made it a joke, and I think that's why I like this issue where they didn't even
Yeah.
like want to be in the same room with each other.
Right. Yeah, it made it more fun. I agree. I thought this issue comparatively was, I won't say leaps and bounds, but it was definitely better. It was stronger. It was more interesting. I like the characters involved with this. I was talking about that when you were frozen. I like Queen Goblin and Craven in this. I like them together. It's just interesting and something I didn't expect, and I actually kind of like it. So, yeah, hopefully it continues to be better and it doesn't dip back down, because we need better Spidey. So
Yeah, this is the level of Spider-Man I could take. I'm curious to see what Mike would have thought about this issue if he because
yeah,
because there even are some people in the comments saying like, "Oh, I hated the ending. I don't want to see Peter evil." And it's just like, he's not gonna be evil forever.
right,
It's just something. Again, it's just something I haven't seen from him. I'm so
yeah,
tired of all the recycled stories of like, oh, this is a great. I mean, you're seeing not that this is a good story, but like Dark Reign. There's like, oh, let's do another Dark Reign. Let's do another this. Let's do another that. It's just like again, the concept of gold goblins interesting. This is something I've never seen with Norman. This
yeah,
concept, I want to see more of that, and even seeing Goblin Queen, I think is super
yeah.
interesting.
And somebody, I think it might have been Tevia, asked us last week how Nightcrawler fits into this whole thing, and I may be giving them too much credit, but maybe this is how Nightcrawler fits into this thing. If Spidey's
Sure,
evil, they need a Spider-Man. There's Nightcrawler, so makes sense
we're
to
gonna
me.
find out this month, I believe it's or
Yeah, I think
tomorrow.
so.
No, it's not coming out tomorrow.
I don't think it's tomorrow, but
No, it comes out this coming month. I think it's coming out soon. So I mean,
yeah,
it might tie into it.
yeah,
I have Black Spider says I haven't found Spider-Man interesting for years now. Sadly, us either. And that's coming
yeah,
from very big Spider-Man fans.
yeah.
I really don't remember last time I loved a Spider-Man book. I think the times I do like a Spider-Man book, they tend to be one shots. They tend to be
Right.
like that. There was
Issue
that
8.
Spider-Man Peter Parker book from like 2 years ago, maybe last year. They taught
Yeah.
the story about J. Joe Jameson from like two
Oh,
years
yeah, yeah,
ago.
yeah.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
really good. Those are the ones I tend to like or love. Those are the ones I tend to give 5 stars to.
Yeah, I remember, like, Flash Thompson's funeral,
Yeah.
that issue was good, and, different you can think of standouts, but as far as, like, a run, it's been a while.
I really thought it was gonna be inexpensive for a
I
very
did
long
too.
time, and I'm so glad because if you look at from the if you look back at it, you could kind of tell there was a shifting point, and I think that was a point where editorial was saying you can't do this, you can't do
Yeah,
what was planned. So I do think that had a potential to be a really good run. I
yeah.
think half of it
Life
was good.
story. That's what that
Yeah.
was, life Spider-Man life story.
Yeah, Life Story was really good. I really liked that a lot. All of Life Story was really, really good. I'm trying to think if there's any other ones that I like recently like. I know some people really like the Dan Slott current run. I thought there are pieces I like of it, but I think
Yeah,
even the Spider Boy stuff kind of left me not
yeah.
wanting more. I mean, I'll read the Spider Boy issue one, but I was like, oh, this really was just another punchline, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. I think that run, like, there's been, like, 2 issues I've enjoyed. So,
Yeah.
let's see how it goes. Alright, I guess we're up to our number 4s then, and, mine
Yes.
is a book we have not talked about yet, which was Invincible Iron Man,
Okay, I
issue
don't read that
9.
book, but I know
Okay.
Emma Frost is getting married.
Yeah, this was the start of that. I
Okay.
mean, she's been in the book for a little bit, but this was kind of so last issue, he put her in his armor and sent her away so she wouldn't be killed by the Sentinels, and he was protecting her, and so he had to find the armor, which was like in the sewer somewhere, and she's like upset with him. But then there's like this touching moment where both of them kind of reveal themselves a little bit, and they get to know each other a little bit better and what they're dealing with all this and all the loss that both of them have suffered. So they connected on that level. And by the end of the issue, she's taking him to the Hellfire Club, and it's back. And lo and behold, there's Kingpin, the new Black King. And so this is how it starts, and they're kind of beginning that road to where and I think it might even be like next issue where they actually decide to tie the knot or something. I know it's really soon. So that was kind of the seeds for that whole thing, that this is the way that we beat them. We, bring back the Hellfire Club, we unite, Avengers and X-Men, we do this kind of thing. So I thought it was pretty strong, and the art was really good in this issue too. So
We do have a question from Nathan. Thoughts on a better Ultimate Universe line returning potentially soon? I hope so, but they definitely been hush hush about it. So I'm like, is there much of a plan? I'm not really. Maybe they don't want to spoil Invasion. I don't know, but I just think it's weird that this is happening and there's no potential lineup.
yeah, I think they're probably kind of waiting to see how well Ultimate
I
Invasion
think
is
I paused a
received,
little,
and
but I think I'm back.
yeah, you're here. Um,
I'm
I was
talking
just
about the
saying,
Ultimate Universe.
yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay,
You,
you're on a bit of a
I'm
delay.
sure. I'm sure I paused, but so I was saying that I think it's a little weird that that they haven't announced anything.
Yeah, and I was just saying that they're probably waiting to see how well Ultimate Invasion is received or does in sales wise, to see if it justifies it. Maybe, I don't know,
I
but
haven't been liking Ultimate Invasion, so
I I like it, but I don't like. Oh my god, this is it. But I enjoy it. I think it's fine, but it's not like, I don't know. It's the the Ultimate Invasion we all knew and love. I think is dead and gone. Whatever comes back, it needs to be something completely fresh. So,
for sure, I agree on that.
all right. So, what was your number 4, Cat?
My number 4 was Firepower, issue 26. I think this was a good return, just because we're actually getting to see some movement from these characters, especially towards the end. We get to
Yeah,
see his wife is now on Firepower, which I thought was super interesting, and we get a little bit from the town or the city, and we get to see a little bit of the ramifications of this dragon. I think it's been so much action that it was nice they slowed it down a little bit, but also allowing for story to progress because they slowed it down.
yeah. I would like a little bit more balance, but then again, I'm used to reading Kirkman, so I'm
Yeah.
used to it. Um, yeah, it was. I thought that was really interesting that his wife was even trying to, master the firepower, and then like, shot out a big giant fireball. So yeah, that was pretty cool. I like that twist, and a lot of good character work here. So
Bronze Page asks, "You like Tony and Emma as a couple?"
I mean, it's a again, it's a couple of necessity more than like romance. They're not in love with each other. They barely even stand each other. It's for a common purpose and a common goal to kind of get rid of this whole threat of everyone wanting to kill all the mutants. That's kind of what this is about. And for Tony to try to get his company back and get his reputation back. So
Yeah, I think, and also with any couple, and especially in a situation like this where it's not even romantic, you really think Emma and Tony are really gonna the storyline's gonna probably last a couple of months, and then like the Hellcat situation. Does anyone even remember that? We do have a super chat. Let me put that up. Bam! Thank you so much for the $5 super
yeah,
chat.
thank you.
You could tell they wanted to kill MJ in the story and had an out with Miss Marvel. I just want Spider-Man to have heights and lows, just not just lows.
Mm.
Um, I think it's hard to tell. I really do. There's a part of me that really does think that they plan to kill Miss Marvel the whole time, just because it's so embedded in what they want to do with the MCU.
Yeah, and also with making her a mutant, I think that just makes sense because again, the only reason Inhumans were the focus was because they didn't have the media rights to the mutants, and now that they
Right.
do, that's their bread and butter. They want to go full in with that. So I think that was probably in the plans. I think Mary Jane, it was always a red herring, and no pun intended. Um, to kill her off. I don't. They're not going to kill Mary Jane off, or at least it's not going to last very long if they do. Um, but yeah. Oh, and the highs and lows thing. I did want to mention that. I agree. I would like to see him get a high every once in a while instead of
Mhm.
just beat down. So,
Yeah, no, I definitely agree on that as well.
all right. So we already talked about Schlub. We already talked about Jean Grey. So let's go right into our number threes. And mine was actually Amazing Spider-Man. So what was yours?
Mine was Mighty Morphin Power Rangers issue 111. I don't have the comic in front of me. I'm trying to remember everything that happened in this issue, but I remember being pretty well balanced, and
Yeah,
I
it's
remember
it's
the ending.
it was about Matt for the most part, and then the ending was the Dark Spectre taking over that Zordon body.
Right, that was
Yeah,
super. That they we've been build definitely been building up to that moment
yeah,
with this whole arc, I would say, and even the last arc with the whole
hmm
Zordon's pass with the previous creative team. But I like this issue. I love a good Power Rangers issue. Again, is balanced, and I felt like this had some good character moments, and I feel like every character kind of had a time to shine, and I feel like it's so interesting, especially the transition from Ryan Parrott to Melissa, is that
hmm
they have such a synced up voice. Like it almost
yeah.
feels like the same writer.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree with you. She didn't lose a step taking over for Ryan. So I've enjoyed it, and I really like this issue too. It didn't quite make my top five, but it's up there. Um, but yeah, it's like you said, everybody had these character moments. You got a little flashback with Matt and Grace, then you're dealing with, did he actually kill Grace? And then Billy's reaction to that. And then, Tommy trying to still, turn him over to the, to the good side. And then all the stuff with Rita and Zordon. I mean, there was a lot going on, but it didn't feel like there was a lot going on. And that speaks to that balance that you're talking about too. So yeah, good issue. All right. So moving on, we talked about firepower. Um, what about Realm of X? What did you think of this? This was,
I
yeah, you didn't like
don't
it?
like it.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I didn't like it. I always buy these magic books thinking,
Yeah.
she's there, let's read it. And then I continue not
It's
to like
barely
any
about
series
her.
she's in. Yeah, she was
Yeah.
not in it very much. And also this book is so connected to that other stuff going on in X-Men. I'm like, I'm lost and I don't care.
Yeah, I totally get that as somebody that doesn't read X-Men. I could completely see that. The thing that was interesting to me about Magic was that she was not apparently part of the prophecy, but she was still there, and they were like, "Oh, Magic can come too," and that kind of thing. So in a way, the story not being about her is kind of about her in the way that Kate couldn't walk through the gates. Now this is Magic wasn't part of this whole thing, and now she can't teleport. And so it's similar in that way. So that has me a little curious, but I agree the story was, it's this side quest with characters that aren't typically featured, which is good and but could be forgettable if the story's not strong enough. So
Yeah.
I was kind of in the middle on it.
We do have a question from the Netta. BTW MJ is coming back in issue 33. I think when we came up, no, I think when we came up with this topic, it was more not just like the series being better without Mary Jane. More talking about is Peter better without MJ, or
Mhm.
like without interacting with her. And I mean, in this circumstance, yeah. And when she returns, it sounds like it's gonna be her story. It's gonna be her as Jackpot, and I
Yeah.
much rather that story.
Yeah.
And again, with the circumstance we have, like obviously, if anything can happen, like I want them together, I would like to see stories with that, but we're not getting that right now.
Yeah, it's funny because I focused on the opposite. That the book, when you were
Mhm.
paused, is it better without her? So yeah, so that's the other side of it. Is Peter better without Mary Jane? And like you said, at this point in time, absolutely, because right now they're not going to be together. No matter how much we want it, no matter how much you want it, it's not going to happen. It's just not
No.
going to happen. So it's better to just separate them and let them do their own thing. Even if she's going to be in the book, let her have her own story and let Peter not, kind of helicopter, but now he's going to be a bad guy, so it doesn't even matter. So maybe she's going to be there fighting him. Who knows?
That'd be fun.
Yeah. All right. So where are we? I don't even remember now. Number two. Yeah, we're on number
You
twos.
were Realm X. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
our
So we
number
thought
twos.
I said all my so my number two is Immortal Thor, which we already talked about. So what is
Wow.
yours? Yeah,
Mine's
I like it.
Spider-Man. We already talked
Okay.
about it.
Nice. All right. And we already talked about Power Rangers, so we're right there to our number one already. And
I
I'm
know. No, and
curious.
with no news,
I
it's
know,
and only two of us.
right? But we
And
made it
most of the
40
show was
minutes, so
either
yeah.
pausing or talking about
Right.
Spider-Man. So
Yeah. I tried to fill the gaps. So it's like I didn't. Is she gonna come back? I don't want to go in this whole long tangent, and it's.
right.
But anyway, it worked
No,
out.
I'm glad it worked out.
Yeah.
At least you were able to talk your Spider-Man thoughts during
Yeah.
my absence and not just twiddling your thumbs. That
Right.
probably wouldn't be the most entertaining show.
Yeah. I just ask everybody how they're doing, and then be like, nobody's talking. I'm just sitting here waiting. Um. No, but so what is your number one? Yeah.
Mine was Click Click Boom issue 3. I really
Really?
like this book a lot. Yeah. This
Nice.
issue we get to see our the journalist character. She is trying to help obviously our main assassin character, and it looks like she's gonna die or is already dead. And you're like,
Yeah.
whoa, that was really interesting. You get this really interesting emotional backstory about the assassin's relationship with her father figure and how like she lost him and how maybe this relationship's a little bit similar and because it's an indie book you really don't know if she died or not, so it's just like, oh wait, did she die, what does this mean? And I'm just really enjoying the ride for this book. I really like it.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't make my top five, but I am really enjoying this book as well, for all those reasons you mentioned, and that cliffhanger of, oh, did she die? Because I was really starting to like this character, and finally, our main. I don't know if we call her main character. I guess she's the main character, the one that doesn't speak and takes the photos. I
Yeah,
can't think of her name.
it's interesting because she doesn't speak, so it's like, is she, I mean, yeah, I mean
Right,
she is, that
or
doesn't
are
mean
they
she's
both the
not.
main character, kind of?
Right.
But their friendship, loosely using friendship, um, or whatever their relationship is at this point, because they've become they're in this together is basically what I'm trying to say. So it's grown on me right throughout just three short issues.
Hmm.
But I'm caring about this character, and it's like, oh no, I don't want her to be dead. So I'm really curious to see what happens at the beginning of
And
next
because
issue.
they're so different, they
Yeah,
drive the narrative in such an interesting way.
yeah,
But like, I can't describe this book as any other book, and that's something I'm really enjoying about it. Is like I can't
yeah.
compare it. It's just really interesting read.
Yeah, and also you have somebody that's used to talking a lot and getting their
Yeah.
opinion out in the world versus somebody that only speaks through photographs,
Mm,
and very vaguely at that. So yeah, it's a good book. And mine was a big game. I'm really enjoying this series so far. So
nice. We do have some comments here, and if you guys want to ask some questions, we could, we could spend another 10 minutes or so doing like a small Q&A because we don't have any news. So
yeah,
this is a good way to do it. And I'll talk about my Kickstarter in a bit. But I might not share my screen because I don't want it to
yeah,
crash out on me. But let's answer some of these questions first. Don says, so. The rumor around the internet is that comic books are going to go up $1 soon. I more want to take this topic and say like it kind of already has, right? They don't just say, oh, there's not going to be a news PR. There's not going to be a PR release, PR releases. So that means the same thing. There's not going to be a press release where they say, okay, we're raising it $1. They want to look good. So they, when you have these backup stories with Batman, that's how they've raised $1. Spider-Man, they're like, there's a couple more pages. This is how you raise $1, and then as time goes on, you give a little less pages, and then you're like, oh, I'm already used to 4.99, so I'm gonna pay 4.99. So yeah, it's gonna go up, but it's already happening.
yeah, yeah. Mike and I kind of talked about this a little bit last week with the cost of stuff, and I mean, it's gonna happen. And basically, what I said last week was, as long as people are buying it, they're gonna do it. So that's that.
Black Spiders wanted this question answered, but I just don't know how to answer it. But
Yeah, I
wasn't
don't
Miles'
either.
mother Dominican? Now she's Puerto Rican. How did that happen? I don't read Miles Morales, but if that is happening, that sucks.
I,
And
I,
probably racist. No, I'm just
I
joking.
yeah,
Maybe not that strong, but
I didn't remember. I don't know. Is it in the since she's been in the 616, or is it like she was Dominican in the Ultimate Universe and now she's? I don't know. I really don't know. I'm
I
asking.
don't remember them even referencing
They
it
didn't touch it
in
on it.
this. Yeah, I don't remember, but yeah, if that is happening. Yeah, that's not right. So
No.
yeah, I'm interested to see, if you could give us when that happened because I hadn't heard of it. So all right, some other questions we got here. Let's see. Did you guys read Battle Chasers? I don't know what that is.
I did not. No.
Yeah. All right. Next up, there were some other questions. Is Valiant done? I heard Diamond pulled the release for Ninjak and the remaining Man of War issues. No, they're just focusing on one book now, and they're
I,
bought by somebody else.
yeah, they got with somebody to publish their stuff. They're coming out with some stuff in a few months.
Yeah, so they're not done, but they're slowing down a little bit.
Yeah.
Mr. Negative says Miles' mother has always been Puerto Rican. Has he not always been known as half black or Puerto Rican?
Yeah, he has.
So,
Well,
so
half
that's
black.
so.
Yeah, go ahead.
Ye
Yeah.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say, so Black Spiders acts that they were Dominican first, so that maybe was the confusion. So no, wasn't Miles's mother Dominican? Now she's Puerto Rican. So she's always been Puerto Rican, I guess is the answer.
Well, there you go.
So there, see, the Mr. Negative gave you the answer on that one. Let's see, there's other questions. Is Ultimate Universe getting a reboot? Yeah,
Mhm.
I think that's pretty confirmed.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it a reboot though, because I don't think Marvel's
Uh,
ever done a reboot.
Yeah, I think it's just a new version of the Ultimate Universe because that one's gone. He's bringing back something new, the maker. He's trying to. So that's my assumption.
Angel says comic book prices will be like gas prices will go up, people will scream and still will buy, I guess
Yeah,
pay.
pay or buy.
Um,
Yeah, I assume.
yeah. But the thing is with gas prices is that because I thought that was gonna be an analogy of like it'll go down, but I don't think comic prices are ever gonna go
I
down.
mean,
Because I mean
the
gas
dip.
prices fluctuate.
Yeah, but the difference is you kind of have to buy gas if you want to go anywhere, or
True. Look,
ride
you
public
have to buy a
transportation
comic.
if you have it. Yeah, you don't have to buy comics. So that's
Uh,
that. It's a good analogy. Other than that,
yeah, and but again, and also the idea of like gas prices have to do with how much oil is available so and where you're getting it from and that's why you see it higher or lower like okay a good example is like when I went to even California. I went to California for San Diego and it was like $6 over there and I was like
hmm,
man at that point I was paying like $3 in New York so it's kind of
yeah,
crazy. All right, let's see. There's another question that Tevia asks, and we answer almost every show, but we'll answer it again because we're in Q&A mode. Do you believe the comic book industry is gonna hit another crash? No, I just think we're gonna be reading comics differently. I think there's
yeah,
just different. I think I always say this, but you can't think of comics as just a direct market. If you do, then you're gonna have a skewed perspective. But if you look at comics as even manga, if you look at it as webtoon, if you look at a Kickstarter, this is the most money I think any comic creator has been making right now.
yeah,
This is the most thriving comics has ever been. And it's so interesting that we live in a world where um, there's so much negativity, right? And we always want to look at the lower end of the stick and the glass half empty. But if you really look at it in a positive light, this is the best comics has ever been. Like I said, maybe it's not the best Marvel and DC has ever been, but let's not put our scope so small.
yeah, exactly. Couldn't say it. I have nothing to add to that. That was perfect.
Spawn is still 2.99 because Todd
Yeah,
can
we
make
talked
money
about
other
that last
places.
week too. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not
But
controlled by an organization like Disney or Time Warner or anything like that. So and that's just Todd McFarlane. He makes the call on Spawn. So
and he's making money in other places for Spawn. If he was
exactly.
just making it from the comics, he couldn't make it 2.99. He's probably it's I always say this, but it's the Mr. Beast mentality where he always says like I don't make money off YouTube. And you're like, well, how do you not make money off YouTube? You make millions of views. And he's like, well, I invest all that money into another video. And the way he makes money is that he has beast bars and all these other things that he's doing whatever beast fat what it's
Uh,
feastables there you go. He has other things that he is invested in to make money. So it's the same thing for Todd McFarlane, I'm sure, where it's just like oh it's he's making money in other play he's making those statues.
yeah, I want to comment on this. Oh no, people ain't buy our stuff. Wait, let's increase the price. That's not the reason they're increasing. They're increasing because people are buying it and they know that they will pay even more for it.
That and
So,
also, it's definitely not that they're not buying. It's
right.
because we live in a recession right now, and not to be preachy, but everything costs have gone up, so you have to also raise your prices because your cost has gone up. So to level up to your profit, you need to raise your prices.
Yeah.
Is that to the extent of Marvel and DC as much? Probably
Yeah.
not because they all have
Yeah,
their own
probably.
printers, but
Right. Right. But it's definitely not a case of people aren't buying that stuff. They wouldn't still be printing it if people weren't buying it.
yeah, it's so interesting because like a lot of people are like, oh, who's buying those anthologies? It's like there's got to be people buying these anthologies because they keep making them.
Yep, exactly.
All right, let's see what else we got here. Creatives doesn't crash. Let's see. Creative doesn't crash. It has highs and lows, but the term crash is subjective. If you're talking physically, then sure maybe, but yeah, yeah, so they were talking about will the industry crash. I mean, I think it's interesting because the if you look at Toys R Us, let's say, right, that went bankrupt. Maybe a Valiant could go bankrupt or a Marvel could go bankrupt, but they also have these bigger companies behind them. So it's hard to say, well, like, are comics going to crash? Because no, maybe a company could disappear, but because they're owned by Disney and Warner Brothers, no, it's probably not going to.
Exactly. It's a different ball game than it was in the 90s, you know. And Marvel was the one that was going under, and they pivoted, and with the popularity of those characters in multimedia especially now, it's just I don't see it happen. Like Kat said, it might eventually change the way we consume this entertainment, but it's not going to crash.
And I think that's what I'm super interested in, and I want to see what happens in the next 5 to 10 years in that regard. Because I don't know if comic book stores will be the answer, and I don't want that to happen. And did I pause or no? I didn't
A
pause.
little
I
bit, but
see
you're
that
back.
my internet was going a little low.
Yeah.
But I was just gonna say I'm curious to see what this means for comic stores. Is what I was mostly saying because I think in the next 5 to 10 years, unless something different happens in the direct market and comic book stores get those comic in different ways. I'm curious to see where that goes because I do think I keep saying, but more money to be had with like Kickstarter. I I know
You're,
I might have paused, but
you're still
we'll
here.
see. I think I'm okay now. All right, good. I can't. You didn't have a picture frame, so that was weird.
Oh,
But yeah, what are your thoughts? Where do you think the direct market's gonna go in that regard?
I, I mean, I don't know. It's so different than it was even just like what 4 years ago. This direct market and
Yeah,
how the pandemic changed everything
pre-COVID.
basically. Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I don't even know how to predict that. I'm not smart enough in that realm to predict what's going to happen with the direct market. But yeah, it's definitely going to look different as the years go, and I think everybody's been concerned about the brick and mortar shops for years, and somehow they've survived, and they've diversified, they've altered their approach, they've done this or that, but I don't know. I wish this is a whole other conversation, but I wish they would open up more to things outside of the direct market. But I understand that adds more headache and more hassle and more inventory and more this and that, and it's a lot of stuff that I have never had to deal with. So
Yeah, no, it's interesting because I feel like we're getting even less from the direct market these
yeah,
days. So it's an interesting time to be a comic fan. But I'm also just curious to see, the new era of comic creators, where those come from. Because I think, and again, I only come from the perspective of indie comics in that regard. But like, I think you always build superstars out of Marvel and DC. Is that going to happen in the next 5 years? Are the superstars? Do they need to work for Marvel or DC?
yeah, exactly.
And what it means to be a comic superstar. So I think what meant to be a comic superstar back in the days that you wrote Batman or Spider-Man, right? And now it's just like I don't know if that is it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't I I think without like a Marvel and DC, I I don't know if there's an I think it's a delicate ecosystem and you need all the parts to be operating for anybody to shine. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if
Right.
without like those higher profile characters that there's anybody looking at anything else. You know what I'm saying? So
We have Black Spiders who say, I feel down the line all comics will be digital, only special books will be printed. See, I don't know if that's the direction it's going. I don't know if that's not I haven't seen that being the issue. I don't again, I think the way comic stores are getting their books has been the issue. Like Diamond,
yeah.
plain and simple. That whole situation's the issue.
It's interesting that I've heard that argument for many, many, many
20
years.
years.
Yeah,
At this point.
I had a really good friend in 2008 make the prediction that within 5 years, comics are going to be completely digital, and
'Cause look at
obviously,
Comixology.
yeah,
It's busted.
yeah. At the time, it was like it was new and fresh, and that's where everybody was going to like Comixology and stuff like that. And it was like, oh, the downfall of physical media, and I get it, but at the same time, it's like, nah. I disagreed then, and I disagree now. I don't think that's anytime soon. So
Black Spider says comics will be like video games, but the big difference of video games is that the quality of the game is not different if you get it on a disc or you get it on your console. With
mhm.
comics, it's a different experience completely if you're reading
Oh
it
yeah,
physically to when you're reading it digitally. It's like saying, well, books won't exist. It's like I think most actually I know most book lovers that I know read it physically. Or at least still a lot of people go to libraries, which I think is a great opportunity. That way you don't have like 20,000 books in your house. You could like or like what Mike does with his comics, where he's like, "Oh, I read them, and now the ones I don't like, I'll put in a garage sale or something."
yeah,
Tevye actually brings up a good point, though. What about trade paperbacks and hardcovers? I think that might be more of the future because I think
yes,
maybe people are getting tired of the single issues. Um,
I would agree with
that I think might be more where the industry is going. Is like, all right, maybe we will have single issues, but not for everything.
that.
And more people will be buying the trades. And what's so interesting because we come from a comic perspective, we come from the Wednesday Warrior perspective, but more people are reading those trades that aren't Wednesday Warriors. They don't even know. Sometimes people are reading these trades, they don't even know they're reading a comic.
Yeah, and I think that's where the entire entertainment industry is actually kind of headed. We
Yeah.
see a lot more like miniseries, limited series, shorter seasons, that kind of thing in TV and movies, and especially like outside of the big two, most comics are like shorter series, limited series. Uh, Ongoings are fewer and far between outside of Marvel and DC. So I definitely think that would be the future to go towards that trade paperback hardcover status to get those like shorter stories in one sitting or whatever. So
Comic Mike Silver Age asks, could you explain what Kickstarter is? I think you're actually asking the right people here. If you guys don't know, we do Kickstarters. I even have a Kickstarter live right now, which I'll plug in a bit. But Kickstarter is a place where creators can fund their own comics. So I make a comic. I can now put on Kickstarter and I don't need a middleman. I don't need a publisher. I'm my own publisher and I put on Kickstarter and Kickstarter has an algorithm, it has its own audience and people back your Kickstarter. Obviously it's not that easy, but let's
no,
just in this circumstance, let's call it that easy.
yeah,
And you get to make money off your book and you directly get the money from your fans, so there's no diamond that is taking a cut, there's no publisher that's taking a cut, there's no you fully get all that money. And that's why Kickstarter has been such a game changer, is that you've been able to connect with your fans and then also you can actually make money doing the thing you love.
yeah,
Because there's a lot of people that work for Marvel and DC, not a lot of people, but there's a chunk of people who work for Marvel and DC who have day jobs. That's not they're even their full job because I'm not saying that Marvel and DC is not paying enough, but it's just like, comics, it's hard when there's a lot of people sharing the pie, right? You're only the piece of it. So with Kickstarter, you give a percentage to Kickstarter, but you get that full pie, if you know how to make your budgets correctly, and you know how much you need to make that comic. But yeah, that's what Kickstarter is, and that's how we release our comics. So
Yeah. So I mean, ultimately, it's a crowdfunding site, but they say not to call it a pre-order store, but in a way, you are selling a pre-order of your comic that you have in production to be able to finish it, to pay your art teams, to pay for printing and all that stuff, and then you give a product, and it's usually comes with more than just the comic. It usually comes with some
right.
other stuff as well, depending on how much you pledge and all that kind of thing. So, yeah, it's a great way. It opened up a whole other market for indie creators that didn't exist prior to that. Without Kickstarter, I don't think I'd be doing comics today. I wouldn't be able to afford it. But thankfully, I built up, just like Kat, I built up a fan base that actually like the books that we put out and will help us fund them so they can get them and read them, and we get to keep putting out books that we love to make. So
Yeah, for sure. And I do have a Kickstarter going on right now. It's just 2 more days, and just to show you a little bit of what Kickstarter can do, it's actually wild. But I will. Oh, I'm not gonna. This is my dashboard, but yeah, it's Beast and Snow. And we're close to 2,000 backers, which means 2,000 people are gonna get our book. And we're up to $71,000. Like that's crazy. But yeah, Beast and Snow. It's a Snow White meets Beauty and the Beast, not safe for work book, and it's queer. There's werewolves, there's vampires. Definitely go check it out. We only have 2 days left for that. Because we didn't have the news, I didn't have an opportunity to share that, but this was a
yeah,
good little segue to do it. But
yeah,
yeah, it's cool that we have the opportunity to do books like this, and also you have the creative opportunity to literally just write whatever book you want.
yeah. Absolutely. And there's no, I mean, if you hire an editor, you might have editorial, but there's no editorial telling you
Right.
you can't do that.
And yeah, it's your Kickstarter. So Mr. Negative, has this been your most successful Kickstarter? Is doing awesome. It looks really good. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Like being close to numbers, not money wise, but backer wise to Lady Death is it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's
um,
insane.
so definitely the most successful Kickstarter that we've done, and the highest we did before this was 1,300 backers, so a little over 1,300. And like our highest is like a little over $30,000. So we did more than double for this one.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's
that's
crazy.
that's amazing. That's awesome.
Thank you. That name changes. All Kickstarter and Indiegogos are awesome. If you live in the States, internationally, the shipping's outrageous. Yeah, that's the one sad part
Yeah.
is that we try keeping as low as we can with the international shipping, but at that point, I recommend just doing digitally because it really just like any business, it's
Yeah,
you
it's
gotta someone's gotta pay for the international
depending on where
shipping.
you live, yeah, I mean, like, it's not so bad to, like, the UK, but, like, if you're going to Australia, sometimes even Canada, it gets
Really,
really
Canada, I
insane.
haven't seen as
Really?
yeah.
Sometimes it's high for me for Canada for some reason, I don't know why. Maybe
That's
because
so
I'm going.
interesting.
You're in New York, I'm in Texas, so maybe it has
True.
something to do with it, so,
I'm a little closer to Canada,
yeah,
than you are,
yeah.
but that's very interesting. All right, let's do last minute questions. So
We also have most
well,
anticipated.
oh yeah, let's do most anticipated, and then we'll do the last minute
Yeah,
questions. Let's
right.
do most anticipated, and you come up with your questions.
Yeah, so let's do that. So real quick, I'll share Mike's. His number three was The Hunger in the Dusk. Number two, I know last week he said he really liked that series. The Incredible Hulk, number three, and World Tree, number five is his number one. All right, so let's see. You and I have two in common, but in different places. So let's go with our number threes. What is your number three, Cat?
Mine is Power Rangers, the 30th anniversary. Love Power Rangers. I want to see if they're going to tease anything with this volume. Also, the original Pink Power Ranger, I believe, is doing a story, so that's kind of cool.
Nice.
But yeah, I'm excited to see if they do anything new with it.
Cool. and mine is Local Man Gold issue 1. So this is like a
That was
little,
close for me.
yeah, a little spin-off. Something about traveling back in time to help his younger self or something. I only glimpsed at it. I didn't even realize it was coming out, and then when I was looking through the most anticipated, I noticed like, oh, that's interesting. So yeah, now I'm curious about that one. So my number 2 and your number 1 are the same, and vice versa. So
Yeah.
let's dig in. Miss Marvel, the New Mutant, number 1. This
This is
new era.
anticipating,
Yeah,
guys. This is
yeah,
not a
exactly.
this doesn't mean you think it's gonna be the best book, because I did
Right.
a top
Yeah.
10 most anticipated video for this, well, actually last month, because I think it got delayed. But I did it for August, and people were getting upset with me because they're like, "How can you put Miss Marvel in this list?" Blah blah blah. 'Cause I'm like, I want to see what this is about. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean I think it's gonna be the best book.
Right. Yeah, this isn't most looking forward to. This is most anticipated. We're curious
Yeah.
about these. Yeah. So same. Like I want to know what they're doing with Miss Marvel. I want to see where this is going. So that's why it's on my list as well. And then my number 1, your number 2 is Batman, Catwoman, the Gotham World War Battle Lines number 1. That's a mouthful. But this
Definitely.
again, I'm curious what this is going to be. Right. This is the kickoff for this whole Gotham War thing. So
Yeah, no, same. I'm curious. We haven't seen Catwoman and Batman interact in a while, so
mhm.
that's mostly what I'm curious about, to see what they're feeling with each other.
Right.
And also I feel like Batman. I haven't been reading Catwoman, so I don't have any
I
thoughts on
haven't
that.
either.
But Batman is a little stalled. We had that last arc that nothing really happens. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
maybe they'll inject some excitement again into Batman.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So those are my most anticipated, and I don't really see any new questions. So I think we're just gonna start wrapping up.
Yeah.
So Brant, what's coming up for you? Anything you want to plug?
Yeah, just I'm back to doing videos on Only Good Comics. So check those out on Mondays. I'm doing videos, and I just announced that I'll occasionally start doing a video on Friday as well. So I'll be on the lookout for that. Those will be like it's going to be my version of Mike's Worthy Ones, but it's going to be much less comics and shorter, and my own spin on new number 1 issues that I really like that week. So we'll see how that goes. So. But yeah, check that out. And I'm still in fulfillment on Kickstarter, so I don't have anything to announce on that regard yet. But stay tuned. What
Cool.
about you?
Yeah, the last 2 days for Beast in the Snow. Go check it out. We have until Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern time. Really excited to see how far this can go. And thanks for everyone who supported. We're really excited about it. And all today I've been doing fulfillment, and all yesterday we did fulfillment. So also in the mix of fulfillment and all that, and getting comics to you guys. And then we'll have another Kickstarter in like 2 weeks. So look
Yeah.
forward to that. But yeah, check out Comic Uno for best comics as well. And then hopefully next week we'll be all three of us, and there won't be any more hurricanes. Hopefully the two of us don't have any hurricanes that hit us, and we have
Yeah.
good internet, and everything's going well. But that's it from us. Go like this video. We have new look here.
Yeah. Sorry
This is
about the
season.
thumbs going up your face. I designed it for all 3 of us, and I got to edit it for the 2. But
It's going up my nose.
yeah,
But that's okay. I'm excited for when the three of us are here, so it's not going in my face. But yeah, this is
just
our
do this.
new. There you
There you go.
go. This is our new look here. It's season 5 of Comic Book Weekly, and go follow us on all the places. Instead of Twitter, it's X now, so go check it out. And we'll see you guys next week.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.